Hi everybody, and welcome to the executive summary of the leadership platform. My name's Andrew Mackell-Wong, and for the next 8 or so minutes I will walk you through the structure, the utilisation and the capabilities required to create and operate a really strong leadership platform. So I guess first of all it's worth saying that no matter what organisation, you really ought to have a leadership platform. But if you're going through an improvement, change or growth campaign, I think it becomes mission critical to have a platform that clarifies and specifies how you do things here, and your aims, your identity, your purpose, your accountabilities, rules of relationship, your expectations, ambitions. It's really important that we make it really easy for everyone in the business at entry level all the way through to executive to understand what excellence looks like, what good looks like, how they know that they can keep their own compass and lead themselves in regards to the work they do, and know that they're on track to performing really well to make their lives easier, safer and more enjoyable. Okay, so let's walk through a scenario. We'll see where an organisation that doesn't have a well-structured and stable leadership platform experiences some pretty universal headaches. So first of all, what you'll notice is that we have teams, generally speaking, where the staff have an idea, a model of the world, a set of preferences about the way they want to do the work that they do. And that includes the standards and the way things are done, the processes they prefer to do. And they have a preference about doing each process differently. And generally speaking, when you have teams with their own model of the world, then you have operational variance. You have an inconsistency in the way that work gets done on a shift with people doing the same work. It can be quite frustrating. Then you may have leaders that have a difference in the way that they perceive the way they should lead their team. And of course that means how to engage and how to communicate, lead, what needs to be led, what doesn't. And unfortunately, and it's a human thing, people with this model of the world, for example, who happen to share this model of the world with their staff, they tend to get on really well. And sometimes a leader here who shares the model of the world of their staff over here can actually create, favoritism. And vice versa. The staff here really prefer to work with the leader over here. And sometimes it causes disruption because a staff member doesn't want to be put on a shift with this particular leader, and that causes all sorts of rostering headaches. You have another leader over here who just so happens to have the same model of the world as this staff member here. And the same kind of pattern of behaviour and preference and favoritism may also pop up. These two people here have a they feel like they're on their own, and they can feel quite isolated. Now, these two guys could band together and create their own little inner team. They could become people who white ant. They don't necessarily white ant, but they can be, because they're so, I guess, disgruntled and demoralized by the fact that no one seems to get them. And they know that this person here and this person here are doing work very differently and getting managed very differently. So it's very unfair. So in order for us to remove that kind of confusion and inconsistency, disruption that does cause disputes and does demoralize a team, we have to have a very clear map of the work that we do and how we do things here. And so if we fail to provide a playbook for excellence and consistency, we will invite mediocrity and mayhem. So I think that's highly valuable in terms of preventing and removing that from our business. So the platform works to do that. Its aim is, and its purpose is, to give us cultural clarity, to give us a playbook of excellence for every role, so that everybody knows what they're supposed to do and not do to win, to thrive, and to do well in their work. We need to give people a platform so they can feel that their work is safer, easier, and more enjoyable, to simplify the work they do so they go home in one piece, happy and safe, and they want to come back. So to do that, we have to build two parts of the platform: our intent and the specifics about what we do, how we do it, and why. Our intent covers our purpose, our focus, direction, ambition, and our priorities. And it's all non-negotiable. And this is important. The leadership across the board, upstream and downstream, need to know that once you put your platform in place, you can change it, you can modify it. But when you put it in place and you induct your team onto it, it is the way we do things here. And we will have conversations if we need to put you back on the platform. First of all, our mission, vision, and values must be relevant. I really encourage you to update, to look at the mission, vision, and values to see whether or not it speaks clearly to the story of your journey. If you're going through an improvement plan or a change or growth, transformation, make sure your mission, vision, values are aligned to that story for the future. Then your position description, policies, procedures, code of conduct, and your objectives need to align to the mission, vision, and values. All too often, the work that we do and the way it's been framed here does not line up with our mission, vision, and values. That inconsistency, that lack of alignment really gets people confused. Next, the key moments within each person's job. The standard operating procedures need to be mapped and they need to be measured. We need to make sure that the intent, the process, the awareness, the information, and the skill, the capability for every key moment is well and truly inventoried. We have to make sure that this work here is there for all the key moments, the intent, the process, the skills, and the knowledge required for people to master their key moments, which are tasks and duties and responsibilities, that kind of thing. So if we have built this, and there is a bit of work in there, most of this work, by the way, you will already have. It may not be organised in a way that's clearly mapped out the way we're showing you here. But some of it needs to be, revisited, and it needs to be updated. Now, it is then the job of leadership to make sure that everyone is aware of their platform, they're capable to do the work required of them, that they're enabled, and that they're motivated. So very quickly, awareness means, do they know their platform structure? Do they know their expectations, accountabilities, and the consequences of doing work really well and perhaps not doing their work as well as they should? Are they, in terms of capability, do they have the skills for the role? Do they have interpersonal skills, the confidence and the resilience to do their job? Really important that, the work that people do, we go through different cadences, different, gears of load and stress. And do we have the ability and the resilience to be able to cope as individuals? Enablement, do they have the tools and the resources? Are they empowered, supported, and mentored? Very often, people don't have enough tools or resources, or not the correct tools or resources. Very often, they're not empowered, which means they can make decisions, but if they make a mistake, they get their bum kicked. And so when someone gets their backside kicked and they feel they don't feel safe anymore to make that decision or to take that action, then they don't. And of course, what that does is exacerbates the lack of performance, because things that need to be done aren't getting done. Decisions that need to be made aren't getting made because there's no real empowerment, because the support mechanisms and the mentoring are not there. People are ruling with sticks. Motivation really isn't our job. I think if we provide the environment for success, if we make sure that we give people the awareness, capability, and the enablement, they ought to be motivated if the job suits them. And sometimes we put people in jobs that they really don't fit with. But are they aligned with the platform? Do they have goals and reasons to thrive? Are they having and enjoying healthy team relations? Are they happy within themselves? Now, we have to be, in this day and age, particularly if you look at the mental health and well-being of people, the emotional well-being of people, people are really stressed out. And maybe it's because their work is hard, maybe because they're not being led well. So the leadership platform simplifies and removes a lot of the things that would make people feel frustrated and annoyed and resentful. And it clears the path for people to have work that is easier, safer, and more enjoyable. Once we have our platform built, leaders need to just move away, get out of the way of their team and let their team do their work. The most important thing about leadership platform is the team needs to lead themselves first. And the leadership guys, the team leaders should be just cleaning up and spot checking, observing, and just, calibrating the performance of these guys to make sure they stay on their platform. Yep. So they need to get out of the way. So it's leadership platform is about self-leadership and about the leadership of others with their team. So when it gets to that utilisation and the capability side of things, once we've got our platform, we need to induct our staff onto the platform. It's more likely that you're going to have people who already exist within a culture that needs perhaps to be transformed, and the platform may be a part of that transformation. Your existing staff need to be inducted onto the platform. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, given that everyone's on their platform and they're happy to be there, and they're on a development plan, so they're developing the gaps of their awareness, capability, and enablement, and we're working actively to make sure that all their gaps in awareness and capability and enablement are being actively filled, right? Then leadership's job is to make sure that we master, as leaders, the skills of planning and preparing, directing, and responding to the work that people then do on their platforms. And so what happens is, if someone steps off their platform, in other words, let's say that they have not conducted or completed a process or a procedure the way they should have, then the conversation should take place, because a leader's job becomes then to observe the people doing the right and the wrong thing, acknowledge that person, to have a conversation, and to serve and support, to praise if they're doing a great job, correct and coach if they need that, if they're making errors in their work, mediate if there's a conflict between people, and manage individuals. If you've done all these things first, and reminded them of their obligation to the platform, then yeah, you'll have to manage them. But you have a lot of option here, a lot of service, a lot of support, a lot of mediation, a lot of nurturing to take place. And so let's say you do that. You remind the person, or you ask the person, if it's a policy procedure, are you aware of that policy procedure? Let's say they're not, then you give them that awareness. Are they capable to do that task? If they're not, we give them coaching. Do they have the skills, the tools and resources? If they don't feel empowered, then we can enable them. Now, let's say that happens. We understand what it is. Maybe it's a skills or a capability issue. We make a dedication to give them extra training. The staff then go back to their work, back to their platform, and they ought to, if leadership have done their job really well in that key moment, that conversation, they ought to have inspired the individual to get back on their platform, to understand what they need to do to correct their work and to be safer or more productive or whatever it might be, more accurate. And the whole group should have this unified sense that no matter who it is in this group, when they have that conversation with this particular leader or the leaders in our business, that they've got these wonderful skills, particularly down here in the response area, that means that those conversations are motivational, they're inspirational, they're corrective, sure, but they're not harmful. Let's say, however, that this particular individual happens to go about their business and repeats the same policy and procedure breach. Well, then the conversation has to shift. As long as you've done as much serving, supporting, coaching, correcting, even if you've mediated, you may need to then engage the management process. The process needs to be followed with absolute confidence by the leader. The leader here doesn't want to lose their shape. The leader wants to make sure in this moment it's still a service issue. It's still about being, leading in the service of others. And this person needs to feel very safe during this process as well. Because otherwise, when that person goes back into the group, it undermines the situation. It means that as long as things are going great, we'll treat you well. But as soon as you start having some wobbles, we're going to hit you with a stick. So we've got to make sure that this process is also well coached and well understood, and the capability of management to go about managing their staff is also done with courtesy, is done with grace and dignity. So that person, if they do go back onto their platform, they've been inspired. However, if they go again and they repeat the same error, yes, we may need to manage them, and we may need to invite them to leave the business. The key here is that we should feel supremely confident that we've done our due diligence over here. We've given people everything they need to succeed. And if they don't lead themselves, and if they can't respond with excellent leadership and coaching, then we invite them to leave. In fact, they're inviting us to invite them to leave. So when we invite someone new onto the platform, we must make sure that we induct them onto the platform, give them an absolute clear map of what excellence looks like and what their accountabilities are, and we set a goal of training awareness, capability and enablement, providing enablement so they can be motivated in their job. Ultimately, what we're looking for is a team of people who stand left and right of one another, and then when they look at each other, they know that everybody in the team is on the same platform if they're in the same role. And they certainly will share mission, vision and values and code of conduct. Those universal non-negotiables will be shared with anyone across the organisation. But the most important thing perhaps that you'll find happening, it's pretty exciting too, is that if an individual in a group and a culture that has a platform and they thrive on it, if an individual happens to step off it, fall off it, trip off it, it often is the group. The group that actually brings this person back online, because the group are so used to being shown how to bring people back online by their leadership that they become leaders of others as well. And so you have this wonderful nursery, if you like, of excellence in leading self and leading others. If you'd like more information or you'd like further description about how the platform structure, utilisation or capability issues work, then please reach out to me at any time. Thank you.